All right, folks. We are live with Fred Estopier. We're going to be talking. I don't know anything. We haven't had a conversation other than the fact he told me he's going to start up. He's got a very interesting story. I'm hoping that we can go ahead and help him with a lot of questions that startup people have that nobody answers. So, Fred, take it away, bro. Tell me your story.
Thank you, sir. And before we start, I want to thank you because you know there's no help out there except there's a online store that kind of tells you what you use chemicals for. And when I saw you, I quickly subscribed. I've been following you. I've pretty much been I've done all your videos, and you're I consider you my mentor. So I really
Ah,
appreciate.
thank
I
you.
I mean, even if I hadn't met you before, I consider you my mentor. Um, you did change my mindset in how to go about doing some things,
Okay.
and that I was used to doing before. So I really like that. It gave me a better step into what I'm doing.
Got it. So tell me, I mean, why are you getting into pest control? What have
You're,
you done
you're,
in the past? I mean, what's the story? Because I know you got an interesting story. Just I haven't
yes,
heard it.
I've been this is my 21st year of teacher, mathematics for high school. Um, Aside from that, I have three more degrees. Um, but in 2010, I got really sick, really sick. Health. I had a Tacoma, a nice Tacoma that I just bought for myself, and I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive. I was in Laredo, and my sister was here in San Antonio, and my truck was just sitting there, and my sister's like, "Hey, my car broke down. Can I borrow your truck?" And I said, "Yeah, sure," but somebody stole the tailgate. So I went to a junkyard and took a tailgate from a truck that was a service truck, and it was white with a phone number, and it said pest control.
Oh,
So I put that, I temporarily put that, and I said I'll fix it later. I just want that tailgate on, and my sister brought it to San Antonio, and everywhere she went, gas stations, stores, people would just walk up to her and say, "Hey, do you have any cards? Do you have any cards? Do you have any cards? Do you have any business cards?" Because they thought she was a pest control lady,
oh my
okay,
God.
or the truck.
Right.
Okay, so you know uh, that and she told me, "Fred, everywhere I go, people want business cards," and I'm like, "Ching," like a little light just went off. I said, "This is something to think about in the future." Because when you become a teacher, I mean, especially a high school teacher, well, I was always in those honor classes and your higher level mathematics in high school.
Right.
And once you go into the real world of teaching, it's like where all these kids come from with that kind of background and manners and this and that. So every year is like, okay, this will be my last year. This will be my last year, and this will be my last year. So I'm like, I gotta do something else. So it's like, I was just like, Freddie, you need to think about pest control. I said, you know what? I am. So a couple of years back, let's say, I want to say 3 or 4 years, 4 years, 4 or 5 years, um, I stopped teaching for a certain situation. But before that, I ordered all the study material from the A&M extension service so I can start reading and knowing the laws and all that. But I had never known about pest control. I said I got it because I know how to study and I know how to test and all that. And I started knowing the rules and regulations and studying everything that the manual had, but it made no sense because it was just a textbook, and I never understood. I mean, many of the things that they were talking about, I had no idea what they were talking about. Yeah, I can
Right.
learn it, but like, what am I doing with it?
Right. There's no
So it's no,
application that you could connect.
yeah, there's no, I couldn't connect. I could not connect, and I left it alone. And I said, as soon as I get an opportunity, I'm gonna go and sign on with a company to work, get
Right.
my experience, and my other degree is in biology. So I have a math and a biology. So because of my biology, I could quickly test without experience
Right.
because I had that education in biology. But I said no, and no, I couldn't do it. So I said, okay, you know what? I better get my feet in there so I can see what's going on. So I applied for this um, worldwide company, very famous, and that I worked there for some time. And I said, oh, now I get it. Oh, now I get it. Oh, this is what they were talking about. Boom, I got it.
Right.
Okay. I got it. Okay, now I connected things. The good things in Texas, you have to work for 2 years with pest control, and then you start, moving up the ladder with it with their certifications here. But because of my degree, I could start off, and I passed all tests quickly. I got my certifications, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do it this time because each year was okay. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Now I'm ready. I'm ready. I've had my rigs for years already. I had my trucks for years because I also have a shared business with a friend of mine, car lot and all that. And it's
Okay.
for me, it's fun. So I can buy my vehicles anywhere I want.
Right.
So I had those ready, and then I had my insurance ready. I have my certifications ready. I'll be the certified applicator. Uh, I'm pretty much doing my own website by myself. I said I got to learn how to do it, you
Right.
know, and I did. I'm pretty much finished with my website. Um, I designed my own logo, and now I'm the point. Okay, I'm almost done. So I'm like, okay, now what? And that's where my questions come in on how to start.
Right.
The job, I know the job. I learned it. I had experience, and with a lot of you take a little bit from everybody here and there.
Right.
What you think is right. Um, so now, okay, so how do I go about doing this? How do I go about
Right.
doing this? How do I go about doing this?
Yeah.
You
Let
know,
me let me let me let me interrupt you for a second because you're doing something that most of us um in the industry as pest control professionals come from diverse backgrounds. I don't know if you know this. My background is in IT. I studied to be a computer programmer. I worked in IT for a long time. I transitioned IT into sales, and I sold mostly everything in the world over 30 years. And then I decided to get into pest control as a part-time job to help my brother-in-law. That's how I got in. The problem with and it's an incredible testimony that you're actually looking into this career because it is such a rewarding career that is so undervalued because most people think the guy doing pest control does this because he couldn't do anything else in life. And here you are with 2 degrees and you're an ex-teacher, let's say per se, who is a way tougher job to do than pest control, I think, is teaching. If you can manage kids, you will have no problem managing your customers or your employees. I mean, it's a tough gig. So it is an incredible testimony that this is a very rewarding. I mean, you talk about your biology degree. Biology always fascinated me, although I never had a degree in it. Um, so it's just really encouraging that first of all you found that you were following me because you wanted to learn about pest control, and this is what I've been saying for 8 years, that everybody is now talking about, going, we can't find people, we can't get people, nobody's interested in pest control. That's because nobody's been out there talking about it positively for 8 years and promoting this industry to outside of the industry where nobody sees it, where the associations don't give you any information. They're not involved. They're doing their thing legislatively, and that's it. So the fact that you even stumbled across it and the way you did was comical. I mean, I get into pest control because I bought a freaking tailgate.
yeah, yeah,
I just think that is just hysterical. The way serendipitously people get into this business. This is not unusual. It is funny though the way you came across it, but most people start out this because they were helping a friend or they lost a job and they decided, well, I'll just take this job temporarily, and then they fall it. And then the worst guys that really have it, that really don't make it, are the people that really get to work for sometimes large companies, and then they go from large company to small company, and then the small company doesn't fulfill them because it doesn't have enough money or all the benefits. So people just get discouraged and they fall out unless they start up. And the only option, if you get into pest control and you don't move up in a company, your only option is to start up. You have very limited growth opportunities in pest control as a technician, unless you want to be a service manager. And then, and then you got to decide, do I want to be in management and deal with those nightmares at a large company, which, most of the time people end up drinking and smoking very heavily. So those are the realities. But if you love it, yes, startup is an awesome, because there's plenty of room for all of us. It's not like the market is saturated. There's only the Bureau of Labor Statistics says there's 83,000 technicians in the country. Think about that.
That's very little.
That's very little when you know very numbers. The industry says there's about 134,000. Compare that to landscapers, which there's 500,000 landscapers in the country. You have, I forget how many million homes we have. It's like literally one technician for every 2,000 homes. The market is not saturated. 20% of people only buy pest control. That's usually the top 20% of the money makers. That's the average. So that's your target market. So your story is comical, but yet, believe it or not, it is symbolic of how people actually stumble. I mean, I got people here, electrical engineers, decided I'd rather do pest control than electrical engineering. They went from owning Subway franchises to selling them all and becoming a pest control technician. It was just much easier. And more money, more profit. The profits are amazing. What people don't understand is how profitable this business is if you do it right. And those are it. So let's just start talking about, you've already got your license. You're already set. I mean, that's really the easy part, believe it or not. People are like, oh, I don't know what to do, how to set up my corporation. Look, talk to an accountant. In your state, he's more equipped to tell you how to set up a company than I am. How you set up the licensing, that's by state. That's all stuff is easy. You built a website, even that is easy. You can do that on Wix. Yeah. Super easy. The thing is going to be, how do we get customers?
Exactly.
How do we market? And then if we're going to grow, how the heck do we learn to hire people? And this is where everybody gets stuck, because nobody ever hires anybody in their life. They know the technical part. They know the academics. And if they come from sales and marketing, they do better than the guy who was a technician, because he thinks the technical part is really what's important. And it's not. It's your soft skills, how you can relate to people, not how good of a technician you are. Because if you're crabby, you're going to have a heck of a time getting customers. So I don't know. Fire away. Tell me what you got, brother.
The good thing is that I'm at a point where I'm ready.
Right.
Economically ready. My kids are already grown up. They each do their own thing. I'm a single person, own my own home. So I'm able to just test the waters and see, and I can grow. Okay, and grow little by little, or however you need to take it. The thing is that when I started doing it, man, I loved it. I loved it. The freedom that you have, being by yourself, working by yourself, nobody on your back, except maybe a customer that like go here and do here and do here and do here, right? But other than that, it's like just riding around, a day, in the city and getting down, and you eat whenever you want to eat, you drink whenever you want to drink, you take your break, So number one, I love it.
Yeah. And let me talk to that point for a second. I think that's very vital that you just brought that up. But believe it or not, there's a lot of people who cannot function in that environment. They've never been self-managed. A teacher, I guess, mostly is self-managed because you're by yourself with your kids and you have to learn how to do things. Where if you're a worker in an office where the work has been given to you and you don't know how to work independently, you never worked independently, all that freedom actually becomes a stumbling block because you have no idea how to manage it. So you kind of mismanagement and then you get into a lot of trouble. So you as a technician understand that it is lonely work because you're not always engaging with a customer. Like nine times out of 10, I never see my customers. I show up, I do my job on the exterior, I spray their lawns, I do their thing. I have customers that I had for like 10 years that I never met. So it's both a pro and a con. If you are, oh, this is awesome, I'm self-managed, I'm disciplined, I'm gonna do my work, nobody has to tell me what to do, I know what I have to do already, and I go out and do it. It's great. For a lot of people, they have to be managed. They will never work in this industry. If you have to be managed because you can't be self-disciplined, that people can't trust you to be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and you're goofing off, forget it. This job you can hide for with me, you're going to hide for a day. And I'm going to find out you slacked off all day. You didn't do what you were supposed to do, and you're going to be gone. But that is, it is a key point for those that are looking to start up and doing pest control. Am I self-managed and self-disciplined to do what I have to do without being told, and not in the sense of the technical part, because we all have to be trained there, in the sense of, yeah, I know I have to drive from point A to point B. I got to do my reports. I got to be there. I can't be across the street, hanging out, ghosting the account, which is big in our industry. The guys will sit in the truck, write up the ticket, leave it on the door, and never do a darn thing and just leave. And we see it all the time. And you see it all the time with big companies, because you give them 15 to 20 stops a day. There's no way that guy can do it unless he gets at 7 a.m. and he's done at 7 o'clock at night. He's not finishing 20 stops. Even if you have route density, he's going to get tired when 104-degree hits. That truck's going to be idling. That guy's going to be taking the AC brakes. They're going to cheat.
That's correct.
If you load them. And I think that's where everybody's frustrated, where everybody gets burned out on this job. My guy's 6 to 8 stops max. And on his worst day where he has route density, he's got 12.
With that big company, I was scheduled 17, 15. And I'm like, holy, I wouldn't finish. First of all, this Texas is hot. Just like you said, it's hot. You better get your little break, because between 1, 2, and 3, that sun is hitting you. And San Antonio is hot, but where I'm from, Laredo, I mean, it is 9, 10 at night, and it is 99 degrees hot. I mean, it just burns you. Yeah. So I was used to the heat in San Antonio. It's way easier than Laredo, way easier. But being active for 12 hours, 8, 10 hours, it will take a toll on you.
It will.
It will take a toll on you.
And a lot of companies have idling policies. They get pissed if you idle the truck. I don't have an idling policy. I let my technician decide, hey, if you got to be in that truck 15 minutes to cool off, be in that truck 15 minutes to cool off. Those are things that go a long way with people when you tell them, no, you got to shut that truck off. And it's 90. You jump into that truck, you're hot, you're sweaty. And now you got to do a report, and you got to turn it on and go to the next stop, which is 2 minutes down because there's route density, and you don't take any breaks. You start cramping up. You're not drinking electrolytes, all these things, these little things add up to burnout for the technician. And that's common in our industry. And brother, I feel the pain because I'm in Miami. It's 100% humidity, even if it's 90. But when it gets into the summer and it feels like 104 with 100% humidity, 6 hours out there when we're pulling hose, you feel it, man. I come home with cramps in my legs, and I've been doing this for 15 years, and I never get used to that. You just don't. So
right now, I mean, my I need to, when I follow you, you one of your statements was, who do you want to target? Your good economical people here with finance that is good, or something small. Okay, I live in the south of San Antonio. It's low economic level status
Mhm.
people. Um, I would like to. I don't know. I'm thinking about this. That's why there's many things I don't know, and until I start doing them, I'm gonna find out. I would
You
like
said
to become
you're in what part of San Antonio are you in?
south side, the
Uh,
south,
South
south.
San Antonio. Yeah, being a math teacher, I'm sure this is probably more for the sake of my audience. South San Antonio, I'm sure you've done a demographic study
Mhm.
in your area. Um, so let me just see here. 80% white. Um, I'm looking at some stats here. Yeah, you got about 81,000 households, pretty healthy as far as a lot of density. Um, you know what the average income, annual average income is for your area?
No, no, I don't. I know it's a little bit low. That's why it's the south.
All right,
Um,
so yeah, so we're looking at in your you're looking at 55,000 average, um, medium 41, which is just above Miami. So you got a tough market. That's tough to live on that kind of average household income. Miami is 42. I think it moved up to 46. Let me put it to you this way. You can't own a home in Miami unless you're making 72 to 85,000.
yes, yes, yes. That I
So,
know.
so, so you're going to be in a tough area where you're going to have to really hone in on where your high price neighborhoods are and target those very specifically.
And that's where I'm trying to do a strategy to where, okay, you know what? These homes here in my side, which I live here also. So, and I teach here also, the school in the south. Um, but I'm like, wait a minute, your houses are anywhere from, let's say, 700 to 1,200 square feet, 1,300 square feet houses.
Very small homes.
Very
Yeah.
small.
Yep.
What if I make it a little household name brand, affordable, and I'll be in and out, in and out. Hey, and hey,
Well,
recommend.
that's how you have to do it. That's you got to do. I mean, if you're able, I mean, this is going to depend on biology and construction and things that I am not. I mean, I'm going to assume that your construction in that area is similar to mine here in South Florida, where you have a lot of block construction and
Um,
or you might have wood construction. I don't know.
yeah, mainly the front is block or brick, and in the
Oh,
rear is that wood.
got it.
Okay.
Yep, yep. I'm familiar with that. You got a brick veneer frontage on these what they're called you know um ranch style homes. And you have that. Ideally you could do, I mean, if you're gonna, I would not sell, and this is the biggest mistake a lot of people make. It doesn't make logic to a lot of people unless you absolutely have to because of the type of construction. I get it. So this is not, I'm not painting with a broad brush. You need to sell though an exterior only service every time you go, because if you have to make an appointment every single time with every client to do their interior, you will not be productive, especially with the prices you're going to have to charge in your area. It will make no economic sense as a business to do that. You have to do an interior service initially where you knock out the problem. But remember, by basic biology 101, no, there is no pest inside a house dying to get out. They're all outside trying to get in. If you figure out how to incorporate exclusion in your business to where you can seal that property for at least large roaches, some of the things you're going to deal with, ants is going to be very tough. You're always going to have to, but all ants are outside anyway. You will rarely have to go inside. So let's say you got to go inside a maximum. Let's use the 80-20 rule for a worst case scenario. That 80% of the time you're only outside and only 20% you're going inside. Worst case scenario, which shouldn't be. But if you're doing your job right, that's your worst case scenario, and that's acceptable. Let's just say that. I know a lot of guys hearing me are going to say, no, 1%, 6%. In the summer, we're at 12% here in Miami. In the winter, it goes down to like 6%. But understand that we take on every client that every large company has failed at because it is a difficult structure. Crawl space homes, our callbacks are higher because we take on more difficult account that everybody else quit on. So it's kind of like the doctor that takes on, he says, your patients are dying at a higher rate. Yeah, but I'm taking all the high risk brain tumors that every other neurosurgeon has turned down. So yeah, I fail more, but I'm also saving more lives. So when we get these cases, we're no longer bi-monthly. We're no longer quarterly. We don't do quarterly here in South Florida. I don't. We now go to monthly on these clients and said, the only way I can get you what you want. Yeah, but the other companies came bi-monthly and quarterly. I says, yeah, but they all failed. And here's why they failed. Your construction does not allow for this. You got to invest $2,000 to $3,000 in sealing that crawl space doors. You see, so you got to evaluate that construction and say, why are they calling you versus the large company when you're in the sales process? And if you learn to be an investigator, why did they fail? Why aren't you happy? Why? You know, if you read the book by Simon Sinek, Start with Why, you become like that little kid that's always asking, ¿Y por qué? ¿Y por qué? You know, that's what you want to be. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Because you will find out there's problems that nobody else is dealing with that you're going to own.
That's right. That's
right. And if you're a monthly client and your market is only going to support $35 a month, and there's markets around, I know guys are going to say, no, that's not. Listen, I got guys in Alabama, they can't charge more than $35 a month.
Really?
That's the market. And it's a very rural market, and they have to travel 45 minutes to get to the good market. Building route density is so expensive because houses aren't like in Miami or in Houston where they're one on top of the other. They're not. You know, you've got a nice size market to choose from. So again, you got to evaluate all these things that people don't take into consideration, especially when they work for large companies, because the company doesn't care to get it. They're on the 80-20 rule. If these 20% of customers don't work out for us, it doesn't matter. We're a marketing machine. We just replace them.
And from what I've seen here, many of the companies, it is a common practice to, if you get service, they do it indoor and outdoor automatically in the same day or in the same appointment. So pretty much the going inside percent is high.
Right. So what was your company charging that you used to work for? What were they charging on a regular basis? Was it monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly? What were they charging?
It was quarterly. The initial, you know, they started somewhere around 189, 225. And
okay, so it's a little bit higher than in South Florida, believe it or not.
Exactly.
Okay, and so that's pretty decent for a contract. That was a contract. Right. Contract. This is where we got to make the differentiation now that you're going to go as an independent. And are you going to hold those customers to a contract? Is that part of your strategy?
No.
It's not.
No.
Okay, so what you're going to end up with, here's going to be your frustration, that you're going to end up with what is known as a one-time customer market. Now
I'm going to offer a contract. I'm going to offer if they want, right? I'm going to offer if they want. But on my website, I make it known no contracts needed. Or I forgot how I worded it, but
no contract. That's
contract.
Fine. We're a no contract company, but understand we're going to charge 2 to 3x more on that initial, because what people are comparing is the initial. Understand the mindset of the customer. This company's 169, 189 initial. Yeah, but that's with a 12-month contract. They're going to make it up. I says, do you want a contract? Okay, if you call them and you got to know your competition and you got to price them out. It says, if you call them right now, it says, I don't want a contract. I want a one-time price. Their one-time price is this. And you got to know that because your customer is going to know that you know your business and he can't mess with you. So if he says, well, their one-time price for a German roach is $680, that's what you're asking me for. Here's my one-time price to do that. And then said, now, if you want a contract, yes, we're more than glad. Are you going to stick to a contract, Mr. Customer? And you know your answer right there when the question already came up that I don't want a contract is the fact that if you go contract and then they cancel, you have to be willing to let them go and not challenge that, because the moment you do, they know to give you a bad review.
That's correct.
And you're not going to go after them and be a collections agent.
No.
And say,
Nope.
you're not going to deal with that. So you might as well be honest with the customer up front and says, if you want a one-time price for me to solve this problem, here is the price to solve the problem. Because I got to come back 1, 2, 3 times to solve this problem for you, and I got to charge you for every one of those visits. They are making their money on the long term with you. If you're going to stay with me long term, then we go to a maintenance program. After I do this for this price, we will talk if you want a maintenance program. And you're going to find out what your closing ratio is on that customer. Says, no, you did such a great job. I don't need it. What's your guarantee? Well, you got to decide, am I going to give you a guarantee? I said, no, based on this construction, because I've been doing this a long time, I know that customer is going to call me back in 30 days with that ant problem, because that problem is in the soil, that biology, that colony. I know from being in the field that colony goes 30 miles through this whole city. And I know that they're not going to be able to hold off 60 or 90 days. So I explained to them why they need it and why. And my sales, understand that if you develop a sales process and you handle all of the objections and not be of the biggest problem that I see with guys that go solo is that they don't know how to be salespeople. They think being salespeople is talking a lot, talking fast, and feeding the customer BS. My job as a salesman is to be a detective. Find out why the customer feels this way. Why is the customer making this decision? Why has the other companies fail? And I have to be a psychologist, and I have to be a counselor, and I have to be a construction expert and a biology expert and know what it is that I'm going to quote, because I know what that problem is going to be. If I was in growth mode and I had salespeople that feed, I'm going to be a machine and I could care less what the numbers are. I'm going to go with the 80-20 rule. You can't go with the 80-20 rule because 80% of the time you're going to end up with these customers. That is the 20% they lost. You're owning their problem that everybody failed at. This is where we as small people, this is what we end up. We listen, we get the scraps that fall from the table. Unfortunately, we charge a premium for those scraps.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like Texas barbecue when nobody cared about brisket because brisket was a dry piece of meat. Okay, go buy brisket now per pound on a barbecue place like Franklin Barbecue and see if it doesn't cost you $30 a pound for scraps that nobody wanted. We get the scraps, but we got to charge a premium because we're inheriting a lot of problems. And so what I would say is, are you going to be, and you mentioned that you're in a good financial position. Are you going to be starting this part-time and still be teaching, or are you going to quit your teaching career and go into this full-time?
Quit teaching my teaching career.
So you're financially set that you can sustain yourself for 6 months to a year. No problem. Because that's important, because if let me ask you a question. Have you ever had any experience in sales?
Oh, yes, sir. Definitely.
Okay. So you do have, okay. That's important because, you know, I don't know. What did you sell before?
I worked at 7 retail stores. I've been working since I was since I was very little, at a very young age, 5 and 6 years old. Because my grandfather used to have a landscaping business. He would plant grass. So, you know, there we go with my grandpa, 5, 6 in the morning, getting that, all that ready. Um, then, as a college kid, I sustained myself working at a shoe store for women. That was crazy. Oh my God, that was
Man, you've
crazy.
had some serious experiences. That's
That was
hard.
crazy. I worked at retail stores selling jeans, you know, fashion stores. Um, I worked at I've worked at eye masters. I was a lab technician and the eyewear specialist selling to the customer their eyewear. So I've
So let me tell you something. That's you've got some very valuable experience that most people will underestimate. But the fact that you can sell to women and you're relatable to women is going to be more important to you than anything else, because most people think they're going to be selling to men. What I find is that most of the time I dealt with women.
and guess my truck I bought me at Tacoma, the one that I'm going to use. You know, it's a great color, but I'm like, and just the point that you said right now, it's women. They're the ones in the house saying, "Hey, I don't want these bugs here, honey." You know, it's the women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guess
Women.
what? Guess what color is going to be my logo? A pink or a melon color. Melon color. A melon made so
Yeah. I mean,
something.
I mean, when I originally started hiring, I really wanted to hire women more because they can relate more in the home. They're more emotionally um, intelligent than men. Men tend to focus on the technical part. Bedside manners of technicians aren't great. Um, this is vitally important, and I think you got a great thing where if you've had that experience, um, I people would laugh like, man, my wife would be like, all these women are calling you all the time. I says, yeah, I deal 99% with women. Um, they're the ones that are in the home. Even when I go to the home and the woman isn't there, the cleaning lady's there. I still got to relate to her because she's responsible for that home, letting me in and making sure that, so I have to comfort her, making sure that, she's going to be able to communicate to the homeowner. So the communication skills is probably the soft skills which you seem to have. I mean, as a teacher, as an instructor, as a communicator, those are so valuable that people don't have to be able to educate the customer on what it is to expect. So yeah, that's going to be your key if you're going to go with no contract, which is the same. It's on our website. It's funny because the reason we got in contact is because you were pricing me out and you went on my site and you filled out my form. And then you said, hey, you don't have your prices on your form. I said, depending on what's happening in my market at the time, I will take it up and put it down and I will test because it's been so volatile with COVID and everything. And we lost our ranking because I had to move. I'm in my new office. This is my garage now. It's converted garage where it's my office, it's storage, it's my library. And I had to move the company from with my GMB location. I took a massive hit on my Google My Business. And then when we tried to put in the new address for the last 2 months, Google's been knocking my address down saying no, even though they sent me the card and I validated it to that address. It's been a mission. I hired a new SEO company. He's been working on it. Says, bro, I can't get it done. They keep knocking the address down. So what I like to do is if my sales numbers are high and I can't manage them, I will put my prices up, and that automatically eliminates a lot of those calls because I'm not able to handle them. But when their sales are low and I need to get more sales, I got to become more personable. So it's a juggling act. This idea that these guys think, oh no, you do it this way and this way is going to, yeah, wait until you're getting 20 calls a day. You lost your technician, you're on a route, and you got to start and you got to finish by 1:45 like me because I got to pick up my son at school. It's a juggling act all day. It's the stress levels are so high. So when I need to, I will put my prices. When I need a break, I will put my prices up on my website, and I will put a form. The form I instantly change it because it has a code, and I just drop the new code in, and I got the new form with the prices in them, and I can easily juggle back and forth and manage that.
Yes, and that's where I'm gonna test my market. I'm gonna test my market in a sense on the pricing. where because I'm able to sustain myself and I'll be okay for some time,
Right.
I would like to become an economical household name for the people in the South that usually don't get pest control, but like Omar, the neighbors, and they say, "Hey, this guy, look, call him. He's giving you a real good price for a one-time thing."
I'm gonna give you the experience on that from personal experience, and I'll give you
Okay.
the pros and cons.
Mhm.
Are you gonna plan? Is your plan to grow and have multiple technicians?
Yes.
Okay. If you're going to do that, you're gonna have to distinguish yourself between the company and yourself.
Mhm.
And you're buying the service the company sells. You're not buying me. If you pigeonhole yourself into, oh, Omar is great, this guy is great, you know, I'm going to do this with him. And then the moment you hire a technician, oh, no, I don't want him. I only want you. You pigeonhole yourself. You're done. To try to get yourself out of that, what you tell your customers is, hey, listen, I don't have the staff right now. I'm going to go do it. But normally I don't do this. I'm growing and, because you got to set that up to your image on your website is that they're not buying you. Don't brand yourself,
Correct.
brand the
Correct.
company,
Correct.
because you'll pigeonhole yourself. Second thing is you are thinking the way everybody thinks. The problem is your thinking isn't based on 50 years of reality. The people who are going to buy pest control are people who really don't want to do it themselves, either because they're afraid of doing it themselves or it's not worth their time. 80% Orkin has a great study that they put out many years ago, which I still have. And they've kept market analysis. They have more market analysis than I'll ever have. And they said for the last 50 years, this was 7 years ago. For the last 50 years, here's been the trend. Only 20% of homeowners ever hire a professional pest control company. That's it. You're not going to get the guy that has always done his own pest control. I've been living in this house 14 years and I've never had a pest problem. I just need a one-time service because I can't solve it. I've tried everything to solve it. He gave up already. Or he has a severe German roach infestation. I don't know what the density of apartments are in yours. I'm going to give you an example of demographics that you need to know. I don't know what they are in your area. I know what I study in my area. And I'm going to tell you the combination of just being one county away. I'm in Dade County. I got friends in Broward County, and we analyze their business model, and it's completely different from mine, and we're only 18 miles apart. Miami-Dade County, just to give you an understanding of demographics, 65% Hispanic. 46%, 46,000 a year, average household income. It is a 50% rental market. That includes single-family homes. 30% of my business is German roach service to single unit apartments that either the landlord won't handle it because he's going to pay a guy $25 to spray it and he's tired of it. And he says, I can't live like this. He won't pay for it. I'm going to end up paying for it, but it's $469 to have you do it and solve it. And then put them on a quarterly or bi-monthly program. 30% of my business is German roach service to single unit condos, because we have a huge condo market, which is also rental, and single family homes that are rentals. That's my German roach business. Now that's unique to me. When I talk to my buddy in Broward, he says, bro, I barely do German roach apartments. I don't get calls for that. Right. Why? He's 35% Hispanic with a 35% rental market, and his average household income in Broward County is $72,000. That's almost double of what it is in Miami-Dade. So this is why it's so hard for us to do what we do in Miami-Dade. When people told me, you're crazy doing eco-friendly pest control, you'll never be able to sell it. I said, no, but I know how to sell Bentleys and Rolexes to people that want to buy Bentleys and Rolexes. So I only sell to high-end clients, but I have the finesse to deal with those clients, convince them. Plus, they're the ones already eating vegan. They're the ones already doing yoga. They're already bought into this holistic mentality. That's my customer, but it's a 1%. I sell to the highest and richest. When I talk to that lady, she's always in yoga pants. She's got a maid. She drives, a $168,000 Mercedes, and this is what she wants. You see, so there's a different. You got to understand the demographics. I want you to go into the marketplace, because what you're saying is, I want to be the average pest control company for the average customer. The problem is that really doesn't exist. It's a dream. If you analyze and you want to know what your pricing should be, and you need to really look at who your top 10, 20 companies are in your market. And you need to price them out every year.
Yes. And I've done that. I've checked out the prices.
Don't go under them, and don't go under them.
Don't go under them.
You will cut your own throat, because think about this. Your costs are going to be higher. Remember, when that large company buys in health insurance, they buy it for thousands of employees. They have leverage. They have leverage on their product. They have leverage on their maintenance. They have leverage on everything. You have no leverage. Your price on the product is going to be what it is. Your price on the insurance is going to be what it is. Your price on gas is going to be what it is. You have no leverage to marginalize 5, 6, 7, 8% here and there. It's not even worth your time, because you're so busy. If you go, you got to charge at least what the average in the market is. And if you build a super premium brand, which is what I recommend everybody do, not try to be the average Joe. You will fail as the average Joe. You will come back to me in a year and said, I did it. I did exactly what you told me not to do. And now I can't grow because I don't have enough revenue and profit to hire a technician. And you will find out that it's going to cost you $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to hire a technician, because you don't have an HR department. You are the HR department.
The HR department. I'm everything.
You're everything. So how much time can you devote to something? What you need is margins, high margins, so that you can afford to say, yeah, I've got 15 grand in profit stored away. So now I can hire a technician and I can keep him going for 6 months, even if I'm breaking even or making no money.
That's right.
Because if your bills are covered, and what you got to make sure is your overhead is covered, your house overhead is covered. If you own your own home and it's paid off, beautiful. Very few people have that luxury. You're good. You're golden. Good. So you need less than the average guy. You can just say, I just need enough to pay the light, the taxes, the insurance, and I'm golden. You're in the sweetest position of your life.
That's why
you don't have golden incomes.
I'm enjoying this process.
Yes.
And I've always worked very hard as a teacher and always had my integrity, because I know if I ever need to go back, I will. You know what I mean? That's why
I don't think you will, bro. Once the bug life has you, you ain't going.
I love it. I love it.
Bro, I never lasted at a career job in a specific company more than 4 years. I was constantly bored. Once I would build a store and I would get that store running, what am I going to do? I can't grow it anymore. The revenue is not going to grow in this store, no matter how hard you're at. You're just maintaining at that high level. I would get so bored, I would quit and find something that was broken and fix it. I've been in this now 15 years. I don't see myself ever getting out of this. It's just that phenomenal to me, because there's so many things that I can do that even when I'm bored doing pest control, I can still do something else. So I'm never bored.
All of this experience, when my truck had that tailgate,
right?
Believe it or not, Frank, it was, to me, I believe largely in God. I'm not a fanatic. But everything has fell into place for me, especially this. It is an opportunity to me to enjoy this, to start a business.
Right.
And it started like that by a tailgate. Okay. But things play into each other. And now I'm enjoying this, because I can really say, oh man, you know what? Let me go work for a insurance, agent or program or this and that. And I don't want to be behind the desk anymore. Right. I don't want to be in the room. Okay.
Right.
And then when I would call, and that's what I'm telling you, I mean, thank God, because he put me the people just come in to me,
Right.
you know. I called the Texas Department of Agriculture, and God, I got this guy that just has been, he became my friend over the phone, you know, from Puerto Rico. And the guy doesn't get tired of my question. He guides me. He does everything. And then I said, "Hey, guy," I told him his name. What is the number one complaint? Because I'm sure people call, "Oh, yes, we are the complaint of Texas." He's like, the number one complaint is the contracts.
Yeah. And
It's
mostly it's mostly where they get involved. Just to give you a little bit of background, it's going to be contracts, but also with contracts with termites. Because by the time when somebody gets to the point where they call the government to complain, is because there's a serious atrocity. In other words, the pest control company did a termite job. Now they have tens of thousands of dollars worth of repair that they're not stepping up to the plate to take responsibility. They're saying, no, it's pre-existing and we're not responsible for it. And that's when the customer gets so frustrated. By the way, I'm going to still recommend, remember, and I want to clear this up since we got into contract, no contract, because I have this question all the time where people tell me, well, how do you do business without a contract? And I said, no, you don't understand. We don't have a long-term contract. There's no binding, like you can cancel for any reason, 30 days notice. If a customer calls me today and says, Frank, I want to cancel, don't come do my next service, and it's 5 days out, I'll still cancel it. I have no problems with that. We have a contract that has terms, conditions, exclusions, and limitations, and it covers our butt in a court.
yes,
In
yes,
case
yes,
they
yes,
said,
yes, yes.
well, I never authorized you to do this and that. And, we have an arbitration clause. Even if we don't do termite, we still have an arbitration clause.
It's a service contract.
It's a service agreement
Service
that we
agreement.
have, that this is what you're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And it's in writing. There's never a question that we said nothing. If I have a pace on my contract where it says, I guarantee you I'm going to do this in addition to this, but otherwise it's what's in that contract. And you still have to write up a contract, and make sure you get an attorney to write up your contract. Because if there's ever a problem with litigation and the lawyers find out that you wrote your own contract, they'll have a field day with you because you have nothing to back it up. So even if it's just the terms, conditions, exclusion, limitation, this is what we said we were going to do, and this is what's in writing. You can cancel anytime. You can cancel with 30 days notice. I don't care what your clause is. It just needs to be there. So have a written contract. Are you going to be focused mostly on general household pests, ants, roaches? You're not going to get into lawn. You're not going to get into termite. Okay. So right now, you're there.
I don't have the termite experience.
Right. It's a very simple service that you're dealing with. You're dealing with what is known in every industry as a minimum viable service. Work on your branding. Let me ask you this, because we're talking about branding, marketing, and sales. And that's always the biggest challenge that you're going to come across, and you want to know how to market and all this. What's your unique selling proposition? If I asked you today, what's different between you and every other 20 companies that is around you, what's the difference?
And that was something that was my next thing on what I was going to work on. That was the next thing, because if you tell me right now, and number one, I'm a very frank and earnest,
right,
honest person, and straight. I'm a straight shooter.
Right.
I'm not gonna, bull crap you right now with that, because it's something that I was gonna set, because that was my next thing to put in the website. How can I tell them about me? For sure, I was gonna tell them ex-educator.
I would have a little bio about us.
Yeah.
You could have a bio about you, but that is about you. In other words, remember that they're not buying you. That's part of the branding.
Yes.
But you want to be, in other words, are you being an educator, understand the education system, you understand where things are going in the ecology, where everything is moving. Are you looking at branding yourself as an eco-friendly option, or are you looking as being what everybody else does?
I'm not gonna do eco-friendly because I feel that you get a lot of you rise up with a lot of situations when it's eco-friendly with people. People are very particular about the products. Um, I don't want to say eco-friendly. I don't want to say that. I
Okay.
really don't.
Let me ask you this. Texas, by the way, I want to give a big shout out to the guys at Texas A&M. I think they're probably the second best entomology department in the country. I know California will disagree. They disagree with everything. So but my top three, believe it or not, um, probably if I had five in the country, number one in the country, it's obviously known that it is UF has the best entomology department in the country. If you're thinking about studying entomology and switching from biology, it has the best. I think the second best for me has been Texas, partially because I deal with so much ornamental and lawn, and they have similar grass and similar. So a lot of the information I get from both UF and Texas entomology. And then I would say California for me is number three with UC and UC Berkeley and a lot of the entomology over there. Then probably would be Penn State and Rutgers University out of New Jersey. Those are probably my where I get.
I was gonna tell you New York.
Yeah, New York.
New York is up there.
Yeah, so Rutgers is probably for me, and then of course Purdue, but Purdue doesn't do a whole lot more than the education part, not so much on the local entomology part, because it's the local entomology part has to do locally with them. But Purdue is highly respected in pest control. So biggest shout out to them because they deserve it. I use a lot of their material. But going back to
and I'm a product from A&M.
Yeah, and A&M, and so but as far as you've got one of the greatest, and I would suggest you sit down with her and talk to her, because she is at Texas Extension Service, Dr. Hurley, because I would brand yourself. I would look at holistic pest management as your word versus eco-friendly, because that's where you're looking at it from a holistic perspective. You're looking at the construction, you're treating the person, you're dealing with the pest problem from a biological perspective, not a chemical perspective, and branding yourself as a holistic company. And why we are holistic, because when she explains IPM, and I've had her on the show, and I think you should, I don't know if you heard that interview with her.
No, I haven't.
On IPM,
okay.
She's probably one of the premier IPM people in the country.